Why trust feels hard. After being hurt, mistrust is learned. Trust comes naturally. We are not born with suspicious mindsets. As we experience life, we learn to doubt and to mistrust. Trust comes naturally because we connect as human beings. We're wired to bond, to believe, and to feel relaxed and safe. Trust only becomes difficult after it's been mishandled. So if trusting feels hard now, it doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It means you've been taught to mistrust. At first, trust is easy. As infants, we trust our parents are going to take care of us and fulfill our basic needs. They are going to feed us, clothe us, and give us love. We feel safe, and we can trust that we are going to be okay as long as we have our parents in our life. As we get older, we feel safe around our siblings and grandparents. Our entire family makes us feel safe. That's when we grow up in a healthy household. Due to the way we grew up, we believe what people say because honesty feels normal. From that mindset and framework, we automatically trust people. Mistrust doesn't show up until something happens that is not in line with what we were exposed to. Mistrust is learned when words and actions don't match. Inconsistency. If we say we are going to do something, then we should do it, or at least have a very good reason why we cannot follow through. For example, in a love relationship, a man may say, "You're my priority, I'm serious about you." But when it comes time to show up, he cancels plans at the last minute, disappears for hours without explanation, or only makes time when it's convenient for him. You are understanding, and you believe his excuses. You give the benefit of the doubt. You tell yourself he's busy. You stay patient. But over time, the pattern becomes clear. His words create one expectation, while his behavior creates another reality. That gap is where mistrust is formed. Not because you want to doubt him, but because consistency was never established. Eventually, you stop trusting the words, not out of insecurity, but out of experience. When promises are made and then broken. Broken promises. If we do not keep our promises, how can we trust what is said? For example, in a love relationship, he makes commitments that sound solid and reassuring. He promises to show up for important moments, to follow through on plans, or to take steps that move the relationship forward. Each promise creates stability, not because it's big, but because consistency builds confidence. But over time, those promises quietly fall apart. Plans get postponed. Follow through becomes optional. Commitments turn into "we'll see" or "soon." There is always a reason, always an explanation, always something else taking priority. Nothing dramatic happens, just a steady pattern of words not being honored. Eventually, you stop relying on what is said. You wait to see what actually happens before you believe anything. Not because you want to be guarded, but because experience has taught you that promises no longer hold weight. And when words lose credibility, trust naturally weakens, not from one broken promise, but from too many that went unresolved. When we are told we're overthinking, but your body feels unsettled, dismissal of feelings, they are minimizing your concerns. They're saying the problem is in your mind, not their behavior. For example, in a love relationship, something in the dynamic shifts. Communication becomes less consistent. Affection feels conditional. You notice subtle changes in tone, availability, or presence. When you ask about it, you're met with reassurance that sounds reasonable on the surface. Nothing's wrong. You're reading into it. You're overthinking. You stop pushing the conversation, but your body doesn't relax. You feel on edge without knowing why. You become more alert, more careful with what you say, more aware of his moods. Not because you're imagining a problem, but because your nervous system is responding to unpredictability. The issue is never addressed, it's dismissed. Over time, being told you're overthinking teaches you to ignore physical signals that are trying to protect you. The relationship may continue, but safety quietly erodes. Mistrust forms not because you want to question him, but because your body never received the reassurance that words alone couldn't provide. Lack of transparency. Not necessarily cheating, but half-truths missing context, defensiveness over simple questions. When clarity is withheld, the mind fills in gaps. That's not insecurity, that's human nature. For example, In a love relationship, you notice details are often left out. He mentions plans, but not who he's with. He answers questions vaguely, offering just enough information to move past the conversation. When you ask simple follow-up questions, his tone shifts. He becomes defensive, irritated, or accuses you of interrogating him. Nothing overtly wrong is happening, but clarity is consistently avoided. You're not asking for access or control. You're asking for understanding. Instead of transparency, you're given fragments. Instead of reassurance, you're given resistance. Over time, you stop asking questions because the response feels heavier than the concern itself. And that's where mistrust begins. Not because of what you know, but because of what you're never allowed to fully understand. When information is filtered, the mind naturally fills in the blanks, not out of fear, but out of a need for coherence and emotional safety. Unresolved past experiences, old betrayals that were never healed, get reactivated. When the present feels familiar to the past, mistrust grows faster, even if you don't want it to. For example, in a love relationship, you may be with someone new who hasn't done anything overtly wrong. But certain behaviors quietly mirror past experiences. Maybe a previous partner lied, cheated, or emotionally withdrew, and now you notice similar patterns beginning to form. Secrecy around the phone, emotional distance, or avoidance during important conversations. Nothing has been proven, yet your body responds. Your awareness sharpens. You feel a sense of caution you can't easily explain. Not because you want to mistrust this person, but because your nervous system recognizes a familiar pattern. The present isn't identical to the past, but it rhymes enough to trigger protection. Without healing, the mind tries to prevent history from repeating itself. So mistrust grows quickly, not as punishment, but as self-defense. And unless those past experiences are acknowledged and addressed, even healthy connections can feel unsafe simply because the past was never fully resolved. When you give the benefit of the doubt one too many times and end up doubting yourself instead. When giving the benefit of the doubt turns into self-doubt happens when we give too many opportunities and we start to think it might be something wrong with us. For example, in a love relationship, he's late responding to messages, forgets important conversations, or repeatedly fails to show up the way he said he would. Each time, you explain it away. He's busy, he's stressed, he didn't mean it. You tell yourself to be patient, understanding, and supportive. You don't want to seem demanding or unfair, but the behavior doesn't change, only your tolerance does. Instead of questioning his inconsistency, you begin questioning yourself. Am I expecting too much? Am I being unreasonable? Maybe I'm asking for more than I deserve. You start adjusting your needs, your tone, and your expectations, hoping things will improve. Eventually, the problem is no longer whether he can meet you where you are. It's that you've been slowly taught to believe your needs are the issue. And that's when trust doesn't just break between you and him, it breaks within you. Cheating, followed by dishonesty. Cheating is not just a betrayal of fidelity. Lying about it breaks trust even more. Cheating breaks trust in the relationship. Lying breaks trust in reality. Once someone realizes they were deceived, the question isn't, will they do it again? It becomes, what else don't I know? For example, in a love relationship, infidelity doesn't always come with immediate truth. The partner who cheated denies it, minimizes it, or offers partial truths when confronted. Details change. Timelines don't match. Information is revealed only when evidence forces it out. Even after the cheating is acknowledged, honesty remains selective. You're told, it didn't mean anything, or I was trying to protect you, while pieces of the truth continue to surface later. Each new detail doesn't just reopen the wound, it rewrites what you thought you already understood. At that point, mistrust isn't about the act alone. It's about realizing that your perception of the relationship was shaped by deception. You begin questioning memories, conversations, and moments that once felt real. Not because you want to doubt, but because the truth arrived in fragments instead of being offered freely. That's how mistrust becomes deeply rooted, not from the betrayal itself, but from discovering that honesty was never fully present, even after the truth was supposed to come out. That's when trust shifts into caution. This is Mama, your AI host. The message you're hearing is not AI generated. It's based on the real ideas, beliefs, and experiences of a mature woman. The bad mama is for entertainment only. Do not follow her. She has issues. The me with issues tells herself she just has trust issues. And she doesn't trust anyone. Not because she's careful, but because she's jaded. She assumes people will disappoint her, lie to her, or let her down. So she stays guarded from the beginning. She watches closely, not to understand, but to catch mistakes. She keeps emotional distance even when nothing has gone wrong yet. When someone shows up inconsistently, she says, "I knew it." When promises are broken, she feels justified. Her mistrust existed before the behavior ever did. The problem is, she never allows space for trust to form. She leads with suspicion instead of openness. And because she never fully opens, she also never fully connects. Her walls keep her safe, but they also keep her lonely. The me who is working on herself understands this. The good mama trusts openly, not blindly, but honestly. She assumes people mean what they say until their behavior shows otherwise. She doesn't interrogate, monitor, or control. She listens. She observes. She stays present. When words and actions align, she relaxes into the connection. When inconsistency appears, she doesn't panic. She pays attention. She doesn't argue with patterns. She doesn't explain away behavior that keeps repeating. She doesn't chase clarity that should be freely given. Instead, she quietly pulls back her energy, not as punishment, not out of fear, but out of self-respect. She understands that mistrust develops when behavior becomes unreliable, and she responds by protecting her peace, not by hardening her heart. She still believes in trust. She just no longer gives it where consistency isn't present. Bad mama protects herself by shutting down. Good mama protects herself by paying attention. Trust doesn't disappear. It gets refined. And learning when to pull back your energy is not fear, it's wisdom. If this resonated with you, subscribe for more honest conversations about trust, boundaries, and emotional growth.